in favor? Aye. Agenda questions? Note, please limit your questions at this time to resolutions under new business on this agenda. As a matter of fairness, you are asked to limit your questions to no more than one, and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you are here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you are here as an individual, please give us your name and address. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes.
Evelyn Slockbauer, 43 Thunderhead Place. I just had a question on item E, Board of Education goals. Number 4, can you give a little bit more detail and explanation as to what number 4 is?
It's basically to try and settle the contract with the teachers.
Okay. That's pretty much all that covers?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Leslie Conoco. I have a question about, Section E, question number 1, which refers to work in conjunction with the school's architect in order to initiate the planning, design work, and governmental submissions, which must be completed prior to going out to bid about June of 2014. I am assuming this is referring to the sports complex, although it has not been named as such in here.
Yes.
That is correct, okay. I would like to know how it can be stated as a goal with government submissions when this is such a preliminary thing. It is not a done deal. It has not gone to budget, nor has the population overall been given the information that we are beginning to ask and will continue to ask as to how this became a capital priority over the needs that exist currently within all of our schools, be they air conditioning, be they a grandfathered sprinkler system that deals with the safety of the children in the high school. If this money is available, then there are plenty of other needs that need to be addressed also, and we need to know the priority of how this came to the top of the list for use of these funds over the safety and well-being and security of our students while they are in our schools.
It came to be because it was put through the committee process, as the board does with everything that we do.
How did this one item, in other words, wasn't there a list? If you're going to come up with items, weren't the then superintendent, the principals of each school, consulted in order to come up with all capital expenditures, in order to do a study to determine what is the greatest priority?
Chuck, do you want to answer that in terms of how it came to facilities, or Peter?
Yeah, I'll start.
Once again.
So within the facilities committee, there's a fairly regular process that reviews a combination of all of the different needs that are available within the system. And some of those needs get categorized as routine maintenance, and some of them get categorized as improvements. And when we feel that we have reviewed all of those things and satisfied them, and where we have surplus capital or excess capital, we start looking for opportunities to think about broader investments. And so we had recommended from a committee perspective that we take a look at this as a potential opportunity for the reasons that have been expressed.
Well, as a parent, pardon me,
Well,
I'm sorry. As a parent, my children have sweltered in Betsy Ross School in the all-purpose room. There's no air conditioning there. There has not been for years. I know that the kids in GW have issues also with that. I know the sprinkler system has been grandfathered in the high school. That's a safety issue. If there's money available to build a complex that is not about the health and well-being of our students, then that should trump it. And with that can come all other things to bring that area up to the 21st century, anticipating the 22nd. We can also look at being able to fit our student body in that room possibly, before we work on just a place to practice, that you can't even conduct events that will bring in games and other things. It is a practice field.
If I may, I'm sorry, you expanded over your 3 minutes.
Okay, good. Then
Thank
when
you.
you talk about this later, I'll have an opportunity to finish. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Anybody else?
Ted Slockbauer. Figures. Was a needs document created for the sports complex?
What do you mean by that?
There's, according to your bylaws, that there's a needs, assessment of needs, I forget the exact phrasing for it. Was that created?
Again, I'm not understanding your question.
You're not understanding, there's requirements or needs document, assessment of needs, I, again, don't know the exact terminology for it, but in your bylaws, that needs to be created before you can go and talk to architects and other things.
What is the section of the bylaws you're citing?
It's on the facilities.
But do you have a particular section at hand?
I'm not sure if I have it at hand, but I do have it.
So it's probably something we should take a look at when we can cite the bylaws section.
And if that document was not created, then you can't vote and speak to architectures. So, I mean, I do have
don't
an
even know
Oprah
what
on that.
document.
Ed, I did send you an Oprah for that document, so you know which I'm referring to.
In honesty, I don't, but I haven't seen the emails in probably an hour or two, so it came in and out.
Okay. All right. And, let's see. I'm done for the moment. Thank you.
Evelyn Slothbauer, one more question. I notice it's not on the agenda for this meeting, and it was supposed to be on the agenda for the last meeting, but I believe that Jenny Ullman had a dive and a swim team all set up with the pool facility available to create a dive and swim team for our school systems, which would have been very beneficial to lots of students. And it has not been put on the agenda, and I'd like to know why.
That money was never budgeted. It's been a discussion that I've had with Jenny Ullman. The money was never budgeted. It was originally discussed, but then the program couldn't go forward because we didn't have pool time at the time.
They were actually supposed to split the program with Ramsey, and Ramsey, as I'm sure you're aware of, pulled out.
Okay, I came by the information that the pool was all set and everything was all set to go.
Your information's erroneous.
I just have one more question.
Sure.
For the facilities planning committee in the sports complex, who specifically did you speak with to determine the needs for this facility?
We spoke with the administrators, we spoke with the,
Can you give me names specifically?
we spoke with our athletic director.
His
who in
name?
turn spoke with his coaches, and he came back with what his needs were.
All right, what's the athletic director's name?
Pelletier, Roger Pelletier.
Thank you.
So we didn't just pull this out of the air.
No, I didn't ask that. I suggest that. I just want to know specifically who. So you spoke to Roger, and he spoke to his
Coaches.
support. Okay, thank you.
Susan Polka, 41 Strong Street. I'm just curious, don't you have to have a vote, a townwide vote, to build something this big? How can that money be used for a townwide item when it's not put to a vote? Just like years ago when we built the new school, the town had to vote on it to decide that they wanted a new school.
That was going to come out of the taxpayer money if you're going to build a new school. This is money that at the end of a year we have had to put away, put somewhere. It goes into a capital reserve account. That capital reserve account then can be voted by the board to come out for.
Where did the money come from originally?
It comes out of the excess of a yearly budget.
Which would be the taxpayers' money,
Correct.
correct?
Absolutely
I feel like you're going around in circles. It's taxpayer money whether it sits in a bank account for 5 years or if it's used that year.
They've been entrusted to...
Excuse me 1 second, we have somebody else with the floor. Thank you. I think this has been explained quite a lot. It is
Well, this
money
is my
that
first meeting,
Oh, I'm
so-
sorry. It is money that is excess at the end of a year that we are by state law allowed to put into a capital reserve account. That money can be used by us to fix roofs, to fix boilers without going to the taxpayer. In the past, before this, when did we establish the?
It's been around about 10 years. Probably the last 5 was the bigger growth part of it. And again, as Trish said, this was set up, it's the one planning account you can do in terms of setting money aside. It is limited. You have to have to do facility work, I think, you know, if I'm giving a broad definition, facility work or improvement of some sort. And as long as it fits that definition, it can come out via board resolution, or as happened in the budget that was approved by this board in March, it can come out during budget time by board resolution. So that's what we had, over the years, we've taken money out and put it in several times.
So you can take like $3 million and spend it on whatever you feel like without getting the town to vote for it? Is that what you're saying you're really allowed to do?
Yes, we are really allowed, yes. We're not
Really.
breaking a law. We can do it, that's what the state allows us to do.
Wouldn't it make sense then to, like the previous woman was mentioning, that it goes to fix things in the building that are broken before we build something brand new?
That money has been used that way. Next time you come down the street, stop off and I'll show you a list of things that have been
If we're
done.
correct about things like the fire the sprinkler system not working, how can that not be first?
It's not working, it's just not in place. When that high school auditorium was built, there was no requirement for a sprinkler system.
I
Trish, we're-
feel like this is,
I'm sorry, we are at 3 minutes.
okay, but how can we pick a playground over a sprinkler system? I don't understand
It's not a
that,
playground.
I'm sorry.
Playground?
Yeah,
John Delina. You need my street?
yes, please,
Mohawk Trail. You need a number?
yes, please.
22? I'm really
Trail or
blown.
drive?
Trail. I'm just really blown away that all of you can sit here and really allow this to happen. It's an absolute travesty. I understand, I have 3 minutes, that this is happening, and you can probably show us a lot of lists. That building is not gonna be a moneymaker, and it's gonna address a couple of hundred athletes. Where you have multiple thousands of kids in multiple buildings that go back to the 60s that need update on a regular basis. And I just think in all good consciousness that there's a precedence here, and I don't understand why. And unfortunately, 10 years ago, you were allowed to spend my money, everybody else's money, to do what you feel is needed. I understand you've done studies. There just seems to be a lot of, not erroneous, but missing information that we don't have, and we have to nitpick and ask you specific questions about things, and you're being very stonewalled about it. And I don't have a question. I just came here because I found out about it about 2 weeks ago, and it's mind-blowing. You know, you have buildings that are unsafe.
I
You've
don't
got-
believe, I do not believe that that is true.
Okay, here's a question. How does the fire chief, or how do you get things like no fire sprinklers being grandfathered in? How is that allowed?
State code.
What? But, I did an addition in my house, and the state said, well, if you did 25% more in your house, I had to go crazy in my house, and I don't understand that you have a school system with thousands of kids going through those doors, that those same rules don't apply to a building like that, where they apply to me as a taxpayer. There's something severely wrong here.
When we put the 40 classrooms on in the last decade, sprinkler systems had to be extended into those additions. Each school had a 10-room addition put on. And whatever the code was at that time, it had to go into the new buildings. You talk about your own home. I just had a deck put on, and because I didn't have a graspable handle, a banister, they flunked it. And I said to the builder, how do you know what's code? He says, when they flunk me, and I know I've got a problem. So Gary Montroy is a stickler when it comes to sprinkler systems. He held up a couple of our projects because they weren't up to code as far as the sprinkler system. And he would be the first person to say, that auditorium has to be shut down because it's unsafe. But because state code at the time said, no sprinklers are necessary, and we're not making any major renovations like blowing out a wall, we are not required to put the sprinkler system in.
How often does code get looked at in
I
a
can't answer
See, we don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
that's something you ask
In
from
a
an
situation like that,
architect.
it's when you make an improvement or when you change something, that's when the new code would apply.
But as far as the changes, we don't know. That's up to the architect and the town building inspector. And believe me, Gary Montroy is a stickler when it comes to,
I'm familiar with
I
inspectors in the
spoke
town.
to Gary Montour.
Excuse me.
I
Excuse
spoke
me.
to Gary Montour
Excuse
Let the gentleman
at the
finish.
town hall.
Excuse me.
No, you excuse me, okay? I spoke to him. He said that you promised here at the school that they've been implemented, the fire sprinklers. He told me that 20 years ago that they grandfathered it in with the promise that it would be fixed.
Thank you.
It-
We're going to move on now. We've exceeded our time. Thank you very much.
Can I have,
I would, do we have a superintendent's report?
We do.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things this evening. The first is, one of the things we talked about at our last public meeting was the consideration of the board for a full-day kindergarten program. And what I reported last month and want to continue this month is I had probably a 3-hour meeting with Mr. Deptula and Ms. Donahue, as well as Ms. Zimmerman, our Director of Curriculum, to look into those aspects that we need to consider before we put a full-day program into place at our primary schools. We're in the process of doing that and tweaking some final things we're working on. We're feeling very positive and confident that we will have a presentation for you on December 18th publicly to explain facilities and the use of those facilities, to explain the potential costs associated with going to a full-day kindergarten, most specifically what will we need to do as far as classrooms are concerned, as far as, buying more books if we need that, and more so personnel, because we'll be going from part-time teachers to full-time, both on a classroom level as well as a special area level. So we'll talk about that, and that presentation will be December 18th. The second thing I'd like to bring up this evening is Christine Zimmerman, our Director of Instruction and Curriculum. We'll be joining administrators from 8 New Jersey districts to present at the National Council of Teachers of English Annual Convention in Boston later this month. Their program, School Leaders Network to Improve Literacy Instruction, will describe how their group, made up 50 group leaders, joins together regularly to study quality literacy instruction. We're proud to have her, as well as our administrators in the district who won't be going to Boston but are a part of this literacy group. We always sometimes learn best from others, so we're proud of them. The third thing I'd like to bring up this evening is the first edition of a newsletter that we'll be putting out 3 to 4 times a year. The board was presented with that this evening. It gives some general district updates. It also gives specific updates about our school. It used to be called Pride and Spirit. Ms. Curry was instrumental in putting that out. And what the board wanted to do is see if we could get that out on a more regular basis. This will be sent out to our faculty and staff via email tomorrow first, and then out to our parents in a community email on Friday. But I would very much like to publicly thank my secretary, Nancy Rapetti, who was truly instrumental in bringing all of this together, our principals and our central office staff for their contributions. I want to say thank you.
It's very informative.
I hope it's enjoyed. She really did a great job, as did the principals. One more accolade and then a congratulations. I want to congratulate our high school once again. Certainly Mr. Pascal, our teachers, and our students for being selected for the 4th annual AP District Honor Roll for a second year in a row. A total of 477 school districts across the United States and Canada are being honored by the board for simultaneously increasing their access to advanced placement coursework while maintaining and increasing the score on those AP exams, meaning 3 or higher. So congratulations, we now have 20 AP courses. We're looking to increase those as the year goes on, but a congratulations to you, Mr. Pascal, your teachers and your students.
Yeah.
I'm all done with my report.
Thank you.
So,
Ms. Donahue,
Yes,
have anything for us this evening?
I have an update on the additional pre-K section. The numbers continue to grow. I introduced to you early in October that we might have to add another section, which would be .5. We've been in the process of interviewing and doing demo lessons, and then the stars aligned and things fell into place with the change in an IEP placement. We can now open this section with current staff, moving them around at no additional cost to the district. We are still finalizing the transportation issue. Some of the families will be switching their little ones from AM to PM. The parents are all in agreement, they were surveyed, they were called personally. So we're trying to get this all set up in a very well orchestrated way. We're looking to open the section December 1st, which would mean that at the December 4th meeting, I would have a resolution on the agenda just reassigning a teacher from full-time in special education pre-K to part-time special education pre-K, part-time general education pre-K. But it would still be the same full-time teacher. Okay, everybody good with that? That's it.
Thank you.
The only thing I have, normally I would have advertised a reorg meeting as part of our calendar, but with the change in the election to November, there was some concern over how long we had to reorg. And a memo has come out, so I am asking everyone to take a look at their calendars. January 8th would be our reorg meetings, and that would fall in with the new guidelines from the commissioner. And then at that point, we would establish a calendar for the rest of the year.
Does anybody need any time to do that, or can we say that we can do it now?
I'm good.
I'll place it on the update for the next meeting notes as well, so it's a reminder.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have a report. Doug? No, Suzanne, I'm sorry. No, Doug. Policy.
Sure, Suzanne? Policy. We did not meet this evening, however, we do have some policies that will be on the next agenda for our next meeting, and they are emergency procedures for athletic practices. They'll be on for first reading. They're going to be, in addition to cheerleading, definitions of the program, so we take the opportunity to review, and if you have questions, let us know. It's only first reading. There's a medical examination, again, first reading. Again, if there's any questions, it's, again, going on as a first reading, and these are all mandated, ones I'm referring to. You also have them in your packet, that was handed out earlier. Pupil discipline, code of conduct, consequences for pupils commit acts of harassment, some modifications there. So again, take a look at that. Pupil discipline, code of conduct, a couple changes in that mandate as well, and then violence, vandalism, and harassment. So there's some changes there. So again, first reading, it's not going on for second reading until December 14th.
All of these policies, Doug, will be sent home for, I guess it's November 28th for the December 4th meeting. And a lot of them, you'll see some repeats in policies. It just means that if you update the harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy, which we did, and some of those consequences and remedial measures, it's important that those consequences and remedial measures go through into other policies, hence the reason for the student code of conduct.
And we'll highlight the changes for them.
What we're going to do, if it's okay, Peter, is we're just going to note what those changes are and what sections are new.
Okay.
Section E or Section F, so they can, the board can refer to that.
Thank you. Suzanne, did you have a report? Anybody else? Instructional is next Tuesday at 1:30. If anybody has an opportunity to join us, there are only 2 of us on instructional, so feel free. 1:30 here.
Just one thing, Dr. Schoen,
Yes.
since we have so many newbies out here, you might want to give an additional trailer concerning the December 4th meeting and the park assessment presentation.
That's a great idea, Peter. We have 3 of our supervisors over at the high school who have been instrumental. Janet can probably speak to this a little bit more with the Principal Supervisory Association doing presentations on park testing. and park assessment. You want to jump in?
They were in fact presenting today, three of our supervisors, on what we're doing instructionally in MAWA, which is really cutting edge in terms of preparing for park. So two supervisors, Dennis Fair and Nikki Van Ness, presented at PSA several weeks ago. And PSA is now advertising that people are saying it's the best park workshop they've ever gone to. So they've been brought back. They're being joined by Kristen Trebona. She's our science supervisor. So what we have done effectively in our schools is really married the whole idea of the integration of the Common Core with math, science, and literacy, and also the literacy being handled through the social studies department. And I thought it would be really good for the supervisors to come here and just present to you some of the things that we've been doing, all of the information they have on park, and how it's changing the face of instruction, and it's very exciting. So December 4th, the three supervisors will be here to do an abbreviated version of their presentation.
We've also asked Christine Zimmerman to be here as well. She's working with Kevin Ulmer, who is the coordinator for our district for park, about our park readiness. And part of the way we're getting ready for the park assessments is the state has asked us for permission to do field tests in a number of different areas and a number of different schools. A test that won't count, but it will allow our students to practice what will be asked of them permanently the following year. And it will also test our technology readiness. What we're interested in doing is stressing our system. What we're interested in doing is finding out if there are going to be any technology problems, because we will be testing, when this goes into place in the 14-15 school year, over 1,600 students in grades 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 11. So the park field tests allow us, not all those grade levels, whatever the state told us they wanted to do. So Christine will do a little piece on that, and then we'll have our supervisors do the other piece. So we're getting there. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Suzanne? Yep.
I just wanted to thank Ed or whoever put this together, the comprehensive maintenance plan report. I just want to say to everyone, the board, people on the board, we don't run the schools, we're just supposed to see that they're well run. So I see a lot of things on here, and I just wanted to know, like, a bigger picture. I know we have good people doing everything and taking care of things where we need them to be taken care of, but is there a big picture, or just some kind of synopsis that I could see from my own education board members would appreciate, where we see as far as safety and being up to code? I mean, I see that we're doing a lot of electrical work here, like what areas, why we're doing certain electrical work, some places like this because it's not up to code, it's because we need it, like just a general picture of where the holes are and why we're filling them at the times that we are filling them.
Again, basically, I think the document itself contains what we're doing. For the most part, it usually involves where there has to be a repair and improvement, additional power, say, for whatever reason. So, whether it exists somewhere, which case that is. We don't usually have issues of coming up to code, again, unless we're doing major work. So that's normally not going to be an issue. The switching over at the high school is, again, one of those hard to tell when you should do issues. So, that will bring it up to code, but we're mainly doing it because we don't want it to break.
I mean, the big,
Yeah,
the
really big.
the really big project. Well, I don't think Ridge Road wants it to break. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else, board member remarks? 14A, the minutes, moved by Peter, second by Doug. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Benetti?
Yes.
Mr. Salverini?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrikowicz?
Yes.
Mrs. Perry? Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mrs. Shattuck?
Yes. I'd like to move 15A through E. There's been one revision since you saw it on Wednesday. Moved by Peter, second by Doug. Everybody got it? Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
15A through E, Mr. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Evanetti?
Yes.
Mrs. Alvarini and Mr. Wojciechowicz?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry?
Yes.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mr. De Silva?
Yes.
And Mrs. Shaw.
Yes, I'd now like to move all of 16, 16A through C. Moved by Peter, second by John Dolan. Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
16A through C, Mr. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Evanetti?
Yes.
Mrs. Alvarini and Mr. Wojciechowicz?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry?
Yes.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mr. De Silva?
Yes.
And Mrs. Shaw.
Yes. Item 17, this section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes.
Questions? Sure. One second here. Okay, so what year did we start putting deposits into the capital reserve account?
If I remember correctly, about 2001, could be off by.
Okay. And so it was set up in 2001. Okay, great. And we've done it consistently ever since?
Annually, if we missed 1 year, possible, but
Okay. So in general, we have, and it's about 1 to 1.5% of the budget is what gets, of the annual budget is what gets deposited into that
Depending on
account,
the year.
roughly, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
depending on the year.
Okay, so we did not have a long-range facility plan in effect, if I remember right, from 2 meetings ago, in the years 2005, 2006, 2007, and because some kind of snafu. And then it was created again in 2008, which is why we just submitted a new long-range plan for 2013.
No, it was completed in 2005.
Uh-huh.
It took the state to get through all 600 districts until 2008, and then they go on to the 5-year cycle from that point. And then in September of this year, although in October we would have been redoing it, in the late summer, they started indicating that it was going to be postponed. By time, the initial indication was postponed by a month or two, and then they announced at an October meeting, or late September meeting, that it's going to be postponed for a year.
Okay. So what happens to the long-range plan then? Is it in effect or is it not in effect? I just want to understand that, because it's kind of like a gray area.
The plan is in effect.
It is, okay.
They have asked, unless you're going to modify it for a project that's approved, they're saying that you can do all the modifications you want, but when the new software comes out, you're going to have to redo them all, so you may want to wait until the new software comes out.
Okay.
The software, just for the record, is extremely difficult to use. Back in 2000, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. I'm hoping that this will make it a little more.
Well, if we're going to depend on state government for anything, I think, don't hold your breath.
I'll throw out a compliment. They finally switched, the board members have seen the budget program that we use, which until last year was in DOS.
Okay.
That's what we would use to submit. When I say the budget program, submitting to the state, not for our use.
Yeah.
So I have to say, in fairness, we were pleasantly surprised when they switched. I think they figured out that Windows is here to stay.
Okay.
And they switched to a Windows-based program, which I think most business administrators gave a solid B+, if not an A-. They did a good job. We are hoping whatever company did that program is the same company that's going to do this next one.
Okay. And I looked at up the doc was called Statement of Need. Unfortunately, I emailed you my template doc that was blank, didn't have the questions in it, so I have to resend it to you again tomorrow. And then
If I may, and
sure.
just ask if there's other people that have questions.
It's just a quick question, one quick question. Can you just define facility for me? What facilities are, you said facilities, as far as discussing.
The buildings and the grounds.
Does that include everything in the buildings? Like computers, does that include projectors?
No.
Does that, no, what is that considered?
There's a technology committee that deals with that.
Supplies, yeah.
Computers are supplies? I can't see how that could be.
They're not mandatory.
Okay.
Definition of the
Yes.
state.
What are toilets? Are those facilities too? 'Cause
Yes.
they're built in. Okay, that's.
Yes.
Hi, Christine Granty from 4 Ivy Lane. Just so you know, I'm president of Veteran HSO, but I'm not here with any representation of the HSO, I'm just here as an individual.
Thank you.
So, I have the pleasure of looking through the Mawa District Testing Report, the PowerPoint presentation. I want to say thank you for posting it on the website, because we couldn't all get to the meeting and hear it in person. And a page that stood out for me, among many standouts, was the page where the colleges where the 2013 graduates were attending. And that was an impressive list and diversity. And it brought a question to my mind as we all think about the athletic complex, and a suggestion that was made by a resident of if maybe there's an opportunity for us as a district to be a standout and a first and an innovator in an academic or an enrichment area. If we're doing so fabulously in sports, but we're doing so fabulously in the academics, what is the percentage, does anyone have any feeling of college scholarships? And when our students go off to college, are they getting academic, are they getting sports? Is there a way where we could really take money and build an innovative center and be the first or the only of its kind in New Jersey that's maybe more STEM or maybe more global, multicultural, or maybe more language development? You might just come throwing out ideas, but what is the colleges looking for that we can help our students do even better and enrich those areas and make a center of excellence there?
I don't know what our last year's scholarship money was. It's been in the high $3 million for a graduating class.
Academic or more sport?
It's really not broken down in that way, and it is what is offered. It's not necessarily what a student receives. So you may have one student that gets multiple offers, both academically, athletically. Obviously, they can only go to one school and take that one school's money. They can't get money from every school that offers.
So the $3 million reflects.
But it's, the pool has been growing incredibly. My daughter graduated in 2012, and I'm pretty sure there was a 3.4 mil was offered to that class. So it's substantial money that they can receive.
Probably even higher with the class coming out this year.
It's a much bigger class, yes.
I'm saying too, and you asked a question, what are they looking for? Having gone through the process twice, I have a daughter now who's a sophomore at Northeastern. I have a daughter who's a senior at Mawa High School. What are they looking for? They're looking for a well-rounded citizen of the community. That they are looking for someone who has shown that they will test themselves academically. They are looking for someone that is going to be giving back to that collegiate facility. And I think an interesting trend that you're starting to see now, especially in a lot of the schools, is they're starting to get away from the standardized testing model. And there's some big name schools in there, BoE, Haverford, Swarthmore, and you talk to the administration people there, it's the same thing. We're looking for three things. We're looking for a well-rounded academic student. We're looking for a student who participates and is a good member of the community. And we're looking for a student that's a good member of the high school community, be that athletics, be it band, be it chorus, be it choir. So, Mawa, interestingly enough, if you look at the graduating class this year, some of the colleges that these students are applying to are just, top grade. Georgetown, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Pomona, just great schools. So, to digress, to go back to your question for a minute, what are they looking for? They're looking for that well-rounded student. They're looking for somebody who's just not knocking the cover off in terms of athletics or band or cheerleading or athletics. They're looking for that well-rounded, holistic type of person.
You can also get that information regarding the amounts of scholarships by getting a hold of a copy of the commencement booklet from the previous year, or calling the guidance department at the high school. They can give you that information. And one of the most important things that I've asked for last year, and they assured me it's going to be in for next year, is a program that follows the student upon graduation from Mawa. How many finish a 4-year college, or how many finish a 2-year college?
Longitudinal study.
I'm sorry?
A longitudinal study.
Yes, exactly. As a lot of schools say, well, 97% of our kids go on to college, but maybe 2% may drop out. So we have a, based upon what our guidance director has told us, our kids are coming back and saying that we have sent our graduating seniors to lead colleges, and they have been very well prepared for the rigors of college education. So we'd love to hear that.
I would encourage you too to talk to Dominic Glyata, our supervisor of guidance, our director of guidance. He's in this every day of the week, so he knows exactly what it takes and what the schools are looking for. So if you really want a thorough answer to your question, I would encourage you to talk to Dominic, our director of guidance.
Evelyn Slaughter, I just wanted to know why technology readiness isn't included in the current year goals, since the park is upon us.
If you'd like.
Yeah, I think, we're sort of constantly looking at technology, and with respect to the park readiness and assessment, we'll absolutely take a look at the total number of computers that are going to be necessary to facilitate the testing. As Dr. Schoen said earlier, 100% of the students are not going to be taking the test all at the same time, so it's not like we need 3,500 workstations or laptops or computers to facilitate that testing. Part of the park readiness preparation is to figure out exactly what those needs are. I think long-term, one of the things we're going to end up concluding is we have to take a look back at whether or not kids are ready to do the keyboarding that's necessary to actually think and write into an actual computer system, as opposed to maybe handwriting and rewriting. And that's something that we've been talking about within the instruction committee, and then from the instruction committee, if the need turns out to be required, then we'll start investigating what the technology requirements would be from that. Those things would typically be funded out of an operating budget perspective, and I don't think they meet the standard for capital requirements out of the capital budget.
As far as the typing is concerned, I know that at least the last 5 or 6 years of HSO meetings, parents have been begging for typing classes for the kids, and we still don't have it.
Yeah, so I guess go ahead.
We've had several discussions this year about the new kinds of typing programs that have come out that are web-based, and we are starting to field test them now. They have several that our director of technology, our director of curriculum, and the elementary principals are looking at. They want to try them out, and these would be programs that students could use at home as well as in school. We're looking to start infusing this down in the primary schools, and this has been ongoing, and we just had a meeting about that last week.
But all these kids are going to be taking this park exam, and I'm sure there's a time limit on it, and these kids haven't had the classes for the typing. And what about the kids who can't type fast enough to do this? We've been, like I said, we've been asking for this for many years at the HSO level.
One of the things that the park assessment has said in its initial information that's coming out, Mrs. Slockbauer, is that although a test may take 40 minutes, there'll be 60 minutes allotted for those students that may run over. You are right, there's going to be a learning curve with this. We can't expect a 3rd grader to do what an 11th grader has been doing on a screen this big on their iPhone for the last 2 years. There's going to be a learning curve with this. We have tried, even before I got here, I'm sorry, Janet, and certainly now getting our kids ready for this, and we are, even though there's still things we need to work on, really leaps and bounds over what other districts have done in their park readiness and their park assessment presentation. I'm sure that the rollout will not be seamless and perfect when you're going to test all those students at one time and you're going to put a 3rd grader in front of a keyboard. You can give them practice for a year, but it's like learning how to script write the first year. It takes some time, and some of us still even haven't perfected that. So it'll take some time, but we are working in that direction. I'm sorry.
I think that some of the information they're going to be gathering through the field tests to see how ready are 3rd graders to compose within a time frame. It's one of the reasons that MAWA volunteered to be part of the field test, so that we can see what it looks like, see how the kids feel, and put in place what we need to. I understand, you know, your concerns, because I've heard it for years too, that we need to do this, and I know we need to do this. I agree with you. I think now, with the kinds of programs we're looking at and the commitment to really put it in the lower grades, I think we'll have some good movement.
Yes, last question.
Hi, Janine Mastrangelo. It's kind of a procedural question.
I'm sorry, can I get your address?
Oh, I'm sorry, 20 Flaming Arrow Road. Under item 15E of the Board of Education goals, in the questions that were asked a little bit earlier, someone specifically asked with item number 1, there was no reference to what was the subject of the planning, design work, and governmental submissions, and you indicated that it was in fact the sports complex, and I'd like to know when the board actually publishes the Board of Education goals on the website, as well as in the meeting minutes, that is specifically updated to say that this is the sports complex, because otherwise it doesn't refer to anything, and it's completely vague.
Sorry, we're thinking.
Okay, I mean, it basically refers to nothing. If you could insert, it refers to the, you know, in-ground pool I'm gonna be putting at my house. It should be
Let the board vote on
You'd like a
rescission,
subject.
revote. Just want a subject to, I mean, that's easy enough.
We can get a subject out of in there, I don't think it's too difficult.
No,
we
I
can
know, I
get
just
subject
have
in
to.
If you rescind E.
I
one.
just have to
You rescind it,
have-
then you reword it, and then you put it back out there for another vote, you're good to go, and we can post those without a problem. This way it's specific.
Thank you.
Can you do that, Ed? Can you rescind E? And then we just need to work on.
May I ask though, is that okay with Peter and Doug?
Yes.
It's-
Yes, everybody,
okay.
yeah.
Are we rescinding all of E or section 1 of E?
It's cleaner if
You
you
just
do,
do all
if
of
you
it.
do all of it and then go back in, but it's up to you. If we pull the whole thing, John, if you're okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Then we just reword number 1?
We
That's fine.
moved 15A through E, it was moved by Peter, second by
Right.
Doug.
Right.
So I'm gonna rescind all of 15A through E. For a moment.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like somebody to move 15A through E. We'll move it by Peter and Doug. I would like to add it.
Could we do something along the lines of work in conjunction with the school's architect in order to initiate planning, design work, and governmental submissions for an activity center,
Works for me.
which must be completed prior? Multi-purpose facility. Chuck?
Yes, that works
Peter?
for me.
Yes.
Suzanne, good? Rick? John?
Yes.
Agreed.
What? They can't answer that, Mike.
Okay.
Multi,
It will now read,
That's
Brooke.
still pretty vague. What are the
Re-
purposes of the facility? Wouldn't we have to know what the purpose of the facility is?
Not,
It's
not,
No,
Facility
not in
could be
this,
an auditorium.
not in this.
not in this one.
when you're doing goals like the kindergarten goal, that's pretty general. It doesn't have all of the specifics in it. It's really just an overarching, but that's up to the board if they want to do it.
I think it will actually work as a multi-purpose facility though too, so I would like to leave it as that. Okay. Need a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Ebenetti?
Yes.
Mrs. Salverini? Mr. McVicker?
Yes.
Mrs. Curry? Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mrs. Shada.
Yes. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Doug, second by Chuck, all in favor?